What's going on? It's the Bearded One here with another beer review, my second ever beer review. I'm excited for this one because it's from a nationally recognized brewery. And my camera's kind of far back, so you probably can't make out the label or anything. But I'm doing Founder's Dirty Bastard Scotch Ale. It's a beer with malt and it's got peat in it, so I'm guessing the peat is what gives it that Scotch ale taste and aroma. I've never had this beer. I've never even had a beer from Founders, and I did find a cool little story on their website that you can go to foundersbrewingcompany.com, or just Google it. Most of us know how to use the internet these days. But apparently Founders was going bankrupt. I don't know when this happened. I just watched the little 3-minute video on this. And in 2019, a Scotch ale doesn't seem crazy to me, but at the time they brewed this, for the very first time, they went to their investors and said, we're going to brew a Scotch ale. And their investors told them it was crazy. And it turns out the Scotch ale, the Dirty Bastard, turned Founders around, and not only do they have this beer to thank, I have this beer to thank, because without this beer I wouldn't be tasting Founders right now if I had to guess. But yeah, I encourage you to go to the website and learn a little more about that beer. This beer saved Founders. I like the labeling on it. It's not totally hipster. It's got a little flannel going on. Got a little Irish guy face. It's kind of dirty, like the name, Dirty Bastard. It went against the investors' predictions or assumptions that this beer was just crazy and was going to be the final nail in the coffin. So yeah, I'm going to read the back of the label for you guys if you don't mind. So good it's almost wrong. Dark ruby in color and brewed with 7 varieties of imported malts. So it's going to be very sweet, complex in finish with hints of smoke and peat. So they did, I don't know if they used liquid smoke. I didn't get to find much information on this beer. They could have used liquid smoke. They could have actually smoked it over a fire or put it in a barbecue smoker, for all I know. And they put peat in it. Paired with malty richness and the right hook of hop power to give it the bad attitude that a beer named Dirty Bastard has to live up to. Ain't for the wee lads. And the reason why they say that is because it's 8.5%. It's also 50 IBUs, so it's not. I did say it was going to be sweet, and I expect a lot of bready sweetness in here from the imported malts that they used. But at 50 IBUs, it shouldn't be a wheat beer by any means. Yeah, I don't think I have much more to add to that. Let's get into it. I'm actually going to pour it this time, and I actually have let it sit for a while. I'm going to try to be a little quicker with this review since my son has woken up, and I'm going to try to get through this video without him making any noise. Also going to do a dorky little thing here for my Untapped app. I've never had this beer, so I want to log it in my Untapped app, so I'm going to take a quick picture with my tablet right quick. Wow, that's a frothy beer. Plenty of head there. I'll try and pour it all the way for you guys. Alright, while that's going, I'm going to get my camera ready. Apologize for the dorkiness here. I just really like to use Untapped, and whenever I drink a beer for the first time, I gotta log it. Alright. Enough of the dorky stuff. Let's get down to the beer. So we've got a tan head. It's not quite brown, more of a beige. I don't want to say khaki. It's definitely on the browner side. tan beige kind of coming to me. It's definitely, when you hold it up to the light, wow, it's I can't see through it, so it's unfiltered. I don't know how unfiltered or whatever. It's very dark. I can definitely see a reddish. It's got that ruby red color around the edge of the beer. In the center, it gets more of a tobacco brown. I know that's not a standard descriptor of beer, but to me, certain browns just have that tobacco brown color. And this beer definitely has a tobacco brown color. The head's kind of dissipating. It's not as thick as it was. There's not a lot of carbonation going on at all. I can see bubbles in it, but there's nothing moving around. I mean, the carbonation looks non-existent. Let's get into the aroma. Oh yeah, it's definitely malty. It's got a dark fruit characteristic to it. It kind of reminds me of a Belgian double that I had just recently in Huntsville. Yeah, I don't have the most perfect palate in the world, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can smell 100 different flavors. I'd be lying to you if I can smell that smoke and that peat. But in my defense, as far as the peat goes, I've never had a peated whiskey. I have had whiskey, I've had quite a few whiskeys. I know what whiskey tastes like. I don't know if this is a good assumption, but I've eaten barbecue before. I mean, living in the South, you have barbecue all the time, and I don't know if that's the kind of smoke they're describing, or if it's more of that peated. I mean, it's a Scotch ale. I guess I'm going to quit being stupid here. It's a peated, smoky Scotch beer. Just trying to look at the time here. I think I'm making good time. Let's get into the taste. It's got a creamy mouthfeel, so it's not. I kind of expected that with it being unfiltered. Unfiltered beers aren't very crisp and clean, usually. This is crazy. I wonder what kind of malt they use. They use 7 varieties of malts, so they had to have used some dark malts, and that's coming through big time on this beer. Might I add, the age on this thing, this is almost a year old. We're coming up on 10, almost 11 months old just at the time of the bottling, and I don't think this beer is suffering from the age. I didn't really think it would suffer from the age since it's a Scotch ale, so if you buy Founder's Dirty Bastard, don't worry if you can't get to it in the freshness state. I mean, they don't even put a freshness date on here, so I mean, let it sit around, enjoy it. It's a Scotch ale. Whiskeys are meant to be aged. Scotch beer apparently tastes good when it's aged. So I'm not getting that right hook of hops, but I'm getting enough. This is really light for 50 IBUs. I attribute that to the 7 different malt varieties. The malt that is coming through, I'm not real good with the coffee and the nut flavors quite yet. I'm really trying to master that part of my palate. But it's definitely got, I'm gonna say, a nutty flavor. It's got a lot of brown ale characteristics to it. Um, yeah, there's a lot going on. This feels like a complex beer. Um, it's just hard for me to describe because I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to get there. I apologize that I can't just sit here and dissect a beer, but I'm going to review any beer honestly. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. Like, just final thoughts on the beer, though. This is an excellent beer. I think I want to come back to it at a fresher date and, try it at a fresher date to see if I can taste anything else. Excuse me, it's coming up. Um, I think there's some peat in there, but again, I've never had peated whiskey, so I don't want to sit here and say that's what I taste. That could be the hops. There's definitely some hops in there, but for 50 IBUs, it's very subtle, very delicate, and that I might attribute that to the age of this particular beer. Hops seem to take the most damage when as a beer ages. So what would I rate this beer? Um, see, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of a 5. I'm not in love with it, but by no means is this just a beer. There's a lot going on. I really want to buy more of this and see what's going on with a fresher date. I all day. I recommend this all day to you guys out there. Get your hands on some dirty bastard from Founders. I don't know their distribution, but I'm from Alabama and they're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I'm going to assume they have pretty dang good national distribution. I mean, pretty much anybody in my area that drinks any sort of craft beer has heard of Founders. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. It's tobacco brown beer, creamy mouthfeel. It's not very bitter at 50 IBUs. I can recommend this to anybody who enjoys any kind of a dark colored beer. Very sweet from those 7 different malt varieties. It's got a lot of brown ale nuttiness to it. In my personal opinion, you may get something else. I think I'm going to cut it there. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, leave it in the comments. I love constructive criticism. I love talking about beer, obviously. So yeah, hit the like button, subscribe if you like what you heard, if you like what you saw. And I'll be back again next time, guys. Thanks.